Hi everybody, today Thursday, the 27th of March 2025. It's almost the end of it's almost April in a couple of days. Today's EON Expert Nothing Rant is brought to you by somebody named LeBron James. I don't know if it's LeBron James, but I believe it's the NBA players in total. He said the other day, like Giannis, if he played in the 70s, he would score 250 points a game, and obviously he was exaggerating. But here's my point. My point is that I believe this is what I believe. Like, was times better back then? Yes or no? That's debatable for anything. There are pros and cons to everything in all walks of life. Players in sports. This is the first time I think our age is saying like, yeah, back then you guys couldn't shoot the ball from downtown, and the guys can just shoot it. And these young guys are saying, you guys couldn't play. You guys were weak. Like Draymond Green said that to Maxwell, former Celtic player who was a Finals MVP in, I believe, in 1981. When you say stuff like that, and let me say this, you might be right. It could be right, but I'm just gonna say this: when you say like when you're getting older, you're gonna like love the young guys. No, you're not. You're gonna be the same guy. We are the same people. Our generation as people, when we get to 16, 17, we're gonna be like, well, when I was back then, remember when we had just cell phones? And now they're just gonna be like, oh, we just had Facebook. Now they have now they're gonna have all these other stuff that you just like send money and you don't even whatever. I don't know how technology is gonna evolve even more because it probably will be. And you're gonna be like, well, now it's even less privacy than it was when I was back in my day when we just had Twitter. Oh my gosh, really? Like this is what's gonna happen. This is the story. We're gonna be the same way they were back then, and we just have to understand this. I believe we are the first generation to just answer back and say, no, we're better than back then because of this. We're maybe privately we might tell people that, like, but from a public standpoint, like John Moran says, I beat Michael Jordan 1-on-1, and he couldn't guard me, da da da, stuff like that, and it's just like Michael Jordan. There are stories with Michael Jordan telling Bill Russell that our team could be your team privately, but publicly when a guy would when Bill Russell, because back then they did the same thing. The 60s, they said the 90s weren't good. Wilt Chamberlain said, I could have averaged 100. I could have scored 100 then. I averaged 50 today. Before he passed away suddenly in 1997, I believe. Here's the thing. You're always going to have that. And I believe the players back then in the 90s didn't answer back because they respected the legend, the people who paved the way. Guys right now don't pave the way. And we have to understand that. There's a is a law. It's like an unwritten law. Like, yes, they paved the way for us, and we have to just accept it and hear the stories and just laugh at it. Okay? But now they just say, oh, those stories aren't true. Oh, it's fabricated. It's this, it's that, it's fake, and you guys are not that tough. And I'm just gonna say this: in every sport and everything, it's like players in baseball now, like yeah, everybody can hit the ball to us 400 feet and 500 feet all the time. It's like, no. Here's the thing: it's like listen to the stories, enjoy it, have fun with it. I remember as a kid, the Yankee players, when they see Yogi, everybody would stop, including Derek Jeter. And now, no one cares. Now, the old timers' days a joke with the Yankees now. They don't really respect it. According to David Wells, he said that they try to hide the players from the old guys because the old guys would give them advice and it would be against like the team because this is what it is now. It's like it's from that disrespect. I'm not saying back then they didn't have problems and there were issues. There were pros and cons. Of course there were. But here's the thing. You guys pretend, we all pretend that when we get to that age, we're not going to do the same thing. We are. We're going to be the same way. We're going to be like, I didn't see this coming. Well, they say the same thing. Don't tell me you're going to be different. You're not. We like when you say stuff like, "Oh, this player in the 70s would have," no, he wouldn't. He would have been good, and but it just would have been a different world because you can't get used to it. Let me say this: you can't walk into the 1960s and do the same exact thing because the world is different. You can't. Like Oh, I need a VIP ride. Are you kidding me? You think players in today's NBA from 1990 and on, I don't know about 1990 because the guys were used to it, but you think players from the turn of the century in 2000 and on would have like adapted to the freaking like commercial flights? No chance. No chance. They would have cried. They would have cried. I'm just gonna say this. It's like you think like Steph Curry, let's say, he would have been good. He's not doing the same things. He's getting hammered and hacked. He shoots a half court shot and he misses. He hits the rim because those shots, I promise he's not 100%. He's probably not even 50%. You're getting on the bench. I remember as a kid, Andrew Bynum, 2012, in the lockout year, shoots a three-pointer as a center, gets thrown to the bench. Today, you don't think about throwing the guy to the bench. He shot a three. Good for him. What a courageous guy now. You got to understand that. Like baseball, too, with bunting. You don't bunt then anymore. Everyone laughs at bunting. What is a bunt? Back then, it's like first and second, nobody out in the ninth inning. You have to bunt. Unless you're the fourth hitter. I mean, even him, he kind of had to bunt. It's like this guy who batted 300, he has to bunt and sacrifice an out for himself. That's what it was. That's how it works. That's what the world was. I'm not going to say whether it's better or worse. It just is how it is. It's how it is in like everything. It's like, oh, back then you actually had to cook the food, right? No, literally. Same thing with bookkeeping. Bookkeeping, you type into QuickBooks or Xerox, right? I believe it's called Xerox or Xero with an X. It does all the math for you. Calculators. Back then, you were the calculator. I know what 6 times 6 is 36, but you used to have to know it like easily. Now you just go, okay, calculator. Well, you have to know division by heart. You have to know decimal points. You have to know where the decimals were. Now you don't even think. You just put it in your freaking phone like this. It's good. We're done. Calculator. GPS, navigation. You used to have to know the way. When you used to travel, you actually had to follow the signs more than now to get to like, people used to travel to Baltimore, from New York to Baltimore, New York to Florida, and they used to have to actually know how to go. Now, they put on the way that, how do you get to the place? No one cares anymore. Whether you like it or not, that's just how it is. We are going to be the same way when we get older. We're going to be like, yeah, you guys don't understand. We actually had to put the food together. Now the machine does it. Now the machine freaking puts the cake together. Back then, back then when we were kids, we actually had to put the dough together, put it in the oven, and press the button. Now you don't even have to press the button. You could talk to the oven now. I don't know what's going to be in 20, 30 years from now. I don't. But here's the thing. This is how it is. You guys pretend like your generation is St. Phil, and we're gonna respect the kids. No, we're not. We're not. We're gonna be the same way. Sorry to tell you that. In every situation, in every field, every profession, in every walk of life. Okay? And by the way, when hopefully in America they make the food better with the processing foods, you're gonna be like, back then we actually had to work through the processing food and actually had to exercise. Now you guys are skinny without even exercising. All right, let's gonna make stuff up. We're gonna do that stuff. Trust me. This is how it is. We're gonna be the same way, and I'm predicting that. In my belief, we're gonna be the same way that the older generations are to us. Of course, there were problems back then. There are problems now. There are pros and cons to everything. Whether you look at it or not, however you look at it, that's how it is, and it will always be that way. Another thing, I appreciate you guys who were on the live last night. I'm trying to make a live every Wednesday night at 7. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, AryaFree26. Follow me on X, AFree26. And Rumble. Follow me in Rumble, REF26. Okay.